Hey, and welcome to my channel. I received a question from the community. A person lives in Thailand, it's pretty warm, and he always sets the water too cold, but it's still too warm. That's a common problem. That's why I regularly visit onsens, that's a type of Japanese hot spring, and traditional saunas, because they have cold plunges there. So I usually spend around 15 minutes in the sauna or hot spring, but only 2 to 3 minutes in the cold plunge, just to be safe. And I was thinking, what if I spend the same amount of time in the cold plunge as I do in the sauna, like doing the same session times? Do you have any experience with this? I feel a bit skeptical because I don't see anyone doing it around me. And that's for a good reason. And I will explain to you why. Before we jump in, a little bit about myself. Who is Mr. Cold Shower? I founded the Swiss Cold Training Association. I ran an ice bath workshop for FIFA. I brought hundreds of people into the cold water and apparently they liked it. Helped hundreds of people go up a cold mountain only in shorts, and I was teaching alongside Mr. Wim Hof, amongst other things. My goal is to bring 1 million Americans to safely enjoy cold showers. Not so much ice baths, not the crazy stuff, just do cold training for your health. That's what I'm here to do. All right, coming back to the question. Should I stay the same time in the ice bath like in the sauna? No, you should not, and here's the reason why. The heat loss in the ice bath is much higher than the heat intake in the sauna. And I will quickly go into the details. It will involve some physics, so if you don't want to hear all the details, just skip. That's your answer. As always, it's not about the duration in the cold water. Your body is a system. It's not about more. It's about giving an input, an impulse to the system so that it starts improving itself. Just like going to the gym, you work out, you give your muscles an impulse to repair and restore them, and afterwards your muscles grow bigger. You don't overwork them, you don't tire your muscles out until they're broken. Here, physics to the rescue. If you don't want to know physical details, then skip this, physics and details. So we have two types of heat transfer. Number one is via air and number two is via water. So in the question he asked about the time in the sauna or in the hot spring and then the time in the cold bath. So we have sauna is air and then hot spring and cold bath is water. Now there are three different types of heat transfer. One is conduction, one is convection and one is radiation. Let me go one by one. Conduction is the transfer of heat by materials or objects when they are in direct contact with each other. So think about you shake the hand of someone else. Usually you feel, oh, that person's hand is warmer than mine or it's colder. Same if you touch the wall, if you touch water, that's a direct contact and that's where the heat transfer happens. Then you have convection, which is described as a motion in a gas or liquid that is caused by temperature differences. A very elaborate way of saying, if you take a cold shower, that's an example of forced convection, water streams down your back and it just takes away all the heat. Another example is if you're sleeping at night and you feel that there's cold coming down from the wall or from the ceiling. That is a case of convection. And forced simply means that it's not the natural emission of that object. For example, the wall is naturally emitting this cold air. But for example, a shower would be an example of forced convection. Number three, radiation, transfer of energy via electromagnetic waves. Example, sunshine, right? Humans radiate as well. That was a shocker to me to know. I won't go into that, but I have a very funny story about that. Coming to heat transfer, how does it work? So you have temperature A, for example, the sauna, and you have temperature B, which is you, and you are usually cooler than the sauna. This means the temperature, the heat will be transferred from the sauna to you. Here, that's the way how it goes. And eventually, if you stay long enough in the sauna, you will equalize. Now, there is a big difference between the heat transfer in air versus water. So if you look at this one here, you see that the air is transferring 24 times less heat than water. And this should tell you that when you're in a sauna, even though it is way hotter than the cold water is cold, you don't absorb that much heat because air simply doesn't transfer it that well. If you were, let's say you go to a 90 degrees Celsius and you just theoretically would go into a 90 degrees hot spring or bath, you can't do that obviously because that would basically boil you, but just thinking about it makes you realize, oh yeah, damn, I can be in 90 degrees air, but I cannot be in 90 degrees water. So if you look at the example in the sauna, you see that the stove emits hot air, that goes up, hits the wall, comes back down, heats you, and then the colder air goes back and that creates this circle. So you mainly absorb the heat through convection. Now coming back to the question of, should I stay the same temperature in the warm water? No, the other way around. Should I stay the same amount of time in cold water as I do in hot water? Let's look at some math here. In cold water, you have more or less 37 degrees Celsius. The cold bath, I just assume it has like 10 degrees. The difference is 27 degrees. Now, if we look at a hot water example, for example, your onsen's hot spring, you again have the same temperature, but the hot water in the hot spring is only 37 to 41 degrees, which means it's a difference of pretty much nothing to 4 degrees. Not the same like here, meaning if you stay 10 minutes in 10 degrees, you lose a lot more temperature than you gain staying 10 minutes here in this water, all right? So if you want to have the same effect, the hot water needs to be 64 degrees. Of course, you cannot stay in 64 degrees, especially not for 10 minutes. Or if you want to use the onsen's hot spring temperature, your cold water should be 33 to 37 degrees. Basically, the same temperature difference. So basically below and above. But currently, your temperature difference to the upside is maximum 4 degrees and to the downside is like 27 degrees, so it's way more. All right, I hope that answered your question. And in conclusion, water extracts more heat than air does. And your cold bath is way colder than your hot spring compared to your body temperature. And in general, that is true regardless of how you do it, how often you do it. 2 to 3 minutes in cold water is all that is needed to produce a beneficial reaction in your body. It's about that shock, it's about calming yourself and then giving yourself ample time to warm up again. All right, that's it. If you think that was valuable, let me know. If you have any further questions, just reach out to me. Let me know. Feel free to join my community. It's free. I'm happy to answer all of your questions. My goal is to bring 1 million people to start and safely enjoy cold showers to improve their health. Take care. Bye-bye.